rebuilding a story from trauma is a very, very careful process. And it's like you start in a field where everything is all over the place. And you can't rush to pull it back together again. And you would really just sit with somebody and let them begin to see where things might, match up again, and if that's possible. And so working narratively in that sense is kind of in that idea of rebuilding a safer story, or a safe enough story. Because often after something like that has happened, or you've lived through an experience, that there's really no way to say bad guys don't hurt you, there's no way to say the world doesn't bring trouble. You need to really open it up to the possibility of recreating something completely different. And that's long, careful work. But I think that often these days we look at the possibility that some people who have this very floaty way of being in the world, psychosis, things like that, there is some root, there's something that shattered things apart. And if we can just allow the space and time for that to be rebuilt, if we can allow the space and time for that recreation, that we get a lot further than we do if we try to just make them feel, make us happier, that they can walk in the world without being annoying or without talking too quickly. So I think it's a fundamentally different approach to what we ought to do for each other after that kind of experience. And I think that the narrative work has the edge. The beauty of the kind of the myth structure and this idea of going on a journey to make the kingdom safe again, or the queendom, is if you're at a point on a journey in a heroic way where you're suffering a dark night of the soul, where you're tormented, where you're feeling exposed and alone and vulnerable, and it's a place on this journey, then there's a built-in optimism in the story that this will eventually, kind of start to fall into place, that this is going somewhere, that this will get somewhere. And for a lot of people, the idea that their life, this is just a point in life, is actually quite not something they intuitively reach for. So we see this with people who have gotten themselves into some troubles in various ways, and they're coming up against it again, and they're hearing a lot of stories that are very finite, that are very based on you are this, you are addicted, you are hopeless, you are lame, you're undisciplined, you can't do these things. Whereas if the context is you are at this moment disorganized, you are at this moment reaching out for something that gives you an answer more quickly than the answer that you're being, you're pacing yourself to get through, then it provides a level of meaning and purpose and a different context for life that can really kind of maybe awaken a return to optimism and agency.